Simplicity is a key design principle which will define our future and those of successful enterprises tomorrow. Yet, as we all know, simplicity is not that easy to learn or to operationalize, especially when starting from a diverse and sometimes scattered IT landscape. In this session, Allianz and Amazon Web Services will share how Allianz is now capable of implementing simplicity in products and IT platforms, and how this results in benefits for customers and for themselves. Please welcome them to the stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Angelica. I'm from AWS, and I'm very pleased to welcome also Axel. Axel, I'm sure that everybody knows Allianz here in this room, but can you tell us something more about your role and your objectives in this role?
Yes, for sure. Thank you, Angelica. So, as you know, Allianz is a big company with a long history, more than 130 years. And we have grown a lot over the past couple of years. I'm responsible for the IT part. We have roughly 14,000 employees working with IT, and we have globalized our IT function. We create a own company for that called Allianz Technology, and I'm a CTO with Allianz Technology. And we serve our OEs, our operating entities. So basically, I call myself or ourselves, we are the IT of the Allianz Group. And the transformation is a key part for us. So therefore, the CTO, the T stands for transformation, not only for technology, because we are on our journey to become a truly digital company, maybe even a tech company.
Yeah, and transformation is a very, very interesting and important keyword for today. Talking about transformation, I mean, in our daily work in AWS services, we see a lot of different trends which are transforming and driving insurers right now, transforming both from the external piece as well as from the internal types of synergies in insurance companies. So, for example, changing customer experiences and emerging risks, especially in the COVID-19 environment. But also when it comes to internal challenges, we'll see this kind of operational efficiencies which need to be achieved on one side, but of course also on the other side, the burdensome of legacy. What kind of trends do you see actually on the market from your side?
So I think we, first of all, are clearly impacted by some of the global happenings. So you look at the climate crisis, you look at the war in Ukraine, you look at the inflation rates, but also the interest rates. That, of course, is impacting insurances as well. That's one key theme. But also, if you look at our customers, what they expect from us, it's the 724 is completely normal. People absolutely expect straight-through processing. You don't want to submit a claim and wait for a long time. You don't want to buy a product and you need 40 clicks in order to do that. More than 5, 6, 7, 8 clicks, that's what customers expect. And of course, IT systems have to run properly. You don't want to have system failures, downtimes. So the 724 is really now the absolutely true normal. And we are heavily embarking on this journey to see what we can do in order to make insurance as easy as possible. We get sometimes the feedback from customer that we are complicated. And the reason is not that we want to be like that, but it's really building on history that we have and really transforming our organization into something that is easy and simple.
And I'm sure that it's not an easy path, right? So especially when it comes to a large and well-established company such as Allianz is in Europe, one of the largest insurers. So what kind of challenges do you see towards this path of modernization?
So I think there are, if I look at the landscape of insurance companies, and I think this is not only a story that is true for Allianz, but others as well, the whole thing starts with, if you look at your products and your processes, they are basically determine also how your IT landscape looks like. It's not the other way around. You build an IT system and then you think about the product, the process. So sometimes really those determine each other. And if you have couple of countries, couple of operating entities, you have different products, different processes, that already looks complex. But if you add another layer, which is the line of business on top, then the true complexity kicks in. So different products, different processes in different countries, in different lines of business, and then underneath the IT. And that leads to situations like you have multiple systems for brokers to work with. You have complicated IT landscapes, and that makes life complicated. So what we are trying to do is we are pushing so-called decommissioning program in order to reduce the number of applications significantly.
Yeah, so that's actually exactly the interesting piece of how are you basically dealing with this kind of challenges and what kind of programs do you have. So any kind of other details you want to share with us?
Sure. So I think decommissioning is a key piece of our strategy. So what does it mean, decommissioning? To also give you some numbers. So we will reduce the number of business applications that we use until 2025 by 75%. So only 25% of the applications will remain. We started that program already in 2020. So we are basically in year 3 now, and we have already reduced 50% of the applications. That made a big impact also on the savings, of course, but also on service that we can offer to our customers and clients because processes are so much more simple than before. The other thing is that we are preparing ourselves for the new digital journey, and this means, of course, using different technology than before. I think it's a big mistake if you start to build on legacy systems. I mean, we have 130 years of experience in the country in the company with different systems, and the big mistake is just to automate legacy, because that will still lead to many complex problems. And one key thing that we learned is what does not scale is complexity. And insurance is a lot about scale, is a lot about platforms. So if underneath you have legacy system, even if they're automated, you're more or less shielding the complexity, but at a certain level, that does not work anymore. And if we want to reduce, for example, throughput times or straight-through processing up to 95% in our new latest products, that does not work with this old kind of setup. So it's a lot about IT renewal, but, and that is sometimes really important, people forget that, it's not only about IT. IT can support, it's about the products and the processes. If you have complex products and very complex processes, your IT landscape will also be complex.
So simplifying processes and simplifying products are at the core of this, right? At the core of this transformation and the core of this business. I mean, for me, it's really the most important and curious question I would very much wanted to ask you is really what's the role of the cloud here in this game? I mean, how is cloud enabling you on this journey, and how can you basically tell us something about the role of the cloud here?
Yes, cloud plays a key role. First of all, if we look at the way how we work, getting the right talents, having different possibilities to launch new products, but also just looking at operational excellence. I mean, we have significantly increased stability up to 99.5%. We started with 93, 95. We have reduced our on-premise footprint from roughly 4,500 servers now down to hopefully end of next year, double-digit number of servers on premise. We started to bring, first of all, our front ends to the cloud. We started then to bring data to the cloud as a second step, but already bringing the front end to the clouds made a big difference in terms of resilience, but also in terms of stability and speed. I mean, we can do millions of transactions on cloud. We can scale, so that is a lot. But maybe let me quickly come back also to this simplicity thing for a second. I would like to do something with you here in the room. Can you please close your eyes for a second and think of a remote control for your TV, for example? How does, from your perspective, a remote control look like? Okay, now open your eyes. I think you all have this kind of black, maybe Sony, whatever, a TV remote control with at least 35 buttons in mind. And the question is, how many additional features does the developer still want to introduce? How many more buttons do we need? And can we properly deal with that? Do we really need all of those buttons? A remote control can even look like this. That's a remote control. That's simple, and that's the future. And what we are trying to do is think really in different categories. Customers, I mean, simplicity is basically digital. It's binary. It's 0 or 1. It's not like it's relatively simple. That does not create this kind of wow effect for the customer. Either the customer says, super cool, this is really simple, I love it, or he says or she says, I don't like it, it's too complex. So in order to get there, really radical thinking is totally necessary, and therefore here what we do in this kind of setup, as you can see here, the different products, the different processes, we have more or less created two things. First of all, a customer model where we have standardized the products. They are largely customizable, but building on standard Lego blocks, more or less. And the second thing is that we have also then created this kind of IT master platform that is run globally, where we migrate all our business and our products and our tariffs on this platform. And this platform runs on cloud, is completely scalable, and we can now, if we operate in a new country, start to operate there significantly faster, roll that out, because we have a standard product model available for the lines of business and a standard IT platform that runs on cloud. And in order to do something like that, we don't need couple of half a year or a year. We can do that a lot faster.
Yeah, so scalability, flexibility, these are some of the advantages you used. I'm sure that you might have also some other interesting use cases you want to share, and I think that also you shared some of the data in terms of like what kind of KPIs are in between. Do you have any kind of other interesting use cases in this context for us?
Yes, absolutely. So I think it starts with what you believe how many products a customer wants and how complex these products should look like. Because as I said, there is nothing without the underlying product and process in place. So if you look at the tariff generations, the first problem that you have is if you have 20 years of tariff generations, for example, in a P&C motor insurance. Whenever you have a claim, you need to go through the various tariffs and understand which regulations are there, which rules do I have to apply. That process is very expensive to automate and super complex as well. If you find tariff models where you only have 2 tariff generations, basically the current one and the one before in place, that drives simplification, but also that is the basis for starting to automate properly. For example, when we do exactly those kind of new products in Germany called Privatschutz, where we bundled some of the products, 95% of whatever we do is straight through processing already. And that is only possible in this kind of setup. Of course, it's difficult in a life insurance environment where you have different setups. But there as well, you can standardize a lot of the components. And I think what insurances did in the past is they thought that the more flexibility I give to the customer, the more configuration I provide, the better it is for the customer. And that's, from my point of view, something that changes over time because we want to work in a different model. Those kind of simplifications are, by the way, super complicated. I asked myself, when I look at this simplification thing, how actually does it work? Is there a university that teaches simplification? Can I study it somewhere? Are there trainings available? I mean, hands up, who in your company does simplification training for employees? Has anybody ever heard about a framework for simplification? I looked at Marie Kondo at home. That's maybe a framework, but difficult to apply that for an insurance company, and that will, of course, not be the holistic one. So the question is, how does simple work? And simple is super complicated. It's very complex. And one thing I learned, and that's also true for IT, you need to have 1,000 no's for one yes. That starts to create simplicity. The 1,000 no's are not easy no's, where you think this is very stupid, we should never do this. It's an easy no. The 1,000 no's are very tough no's, where you think, actually, it's a pretty good idea, I love it, it's the right thing, but no, I have to say no. This drives, for example, simplicity. And there's a long process. I mean, culturally, the Germans are quite used to come up with special ideas, cases, and complexity. And sometimes we, I don't know, have it maybe in our DNA to think in exceptions and make sure this goes as well in some of our products and in some of our solutions. But you need to find a dialogue with the business together to say, we will only be successful if you also start to understand that product variations cost actually a lot of money. And we can show it, we can actually prove it. In the past, it was more like, somebody thought of something and then IT implemented it. In the current world, it's actually even a bit different. It's like, this is what IT sometimes says is great. The business looks at the possibilities and the capabilities because they grow every day. It's not limitations on the technology side. It's additional capabilities that influence the business, that they come up with proper solutions. And then IT tells more or less, this is what it would cost, this is how it would work, this is what it would mean. I think this working together in a collaborative setting is something that will drive simplification, also change the industry quite rapidly. And of course, if we look at cloud, that's one of the absolute key enablers. I mean, if you look at resilience, stability, if you look at cost, if you look at possibilities to also bring your data into different countries, all of the new regulations that will come up, cloud is for us a key differentiator. And I could not imagine to do some of the stuff that we do on the product side without cloud technology. So for us, we have a cloud-first strategy where every new workload, everything that we newly deploy or build is based on cloud. Other than that, I think it will be very challenging to keep up with the stuff. I mean, I heard here also as well, the presentations of the colleagues. I mean, the first kind of pitch is always it starts with, and it runs on cloud. And for an insurance company with 130 plus years history, it's not that easy to say everything that we newly built will run on cloud.
Indeed. I mean, also especially within the last 5 to 6 years, we've seen a lot of development, especially in the insurance space. So the question is not anymore why cloud, but how and when cloud. So what's actually your prediction for the future of the usage of the cloud in general for, let's say, for insurers in Europe? How do you see the adoption there, and what kind of trends do you see?
So first of all, I think you would maybe be astonished how much workload currently runs on cloud and how much workload still runs on premise. I just read 2 recent reports. They more or less shared the same number of workload percentage on premise and on cloud. So I can tell you it's currently 7 to 10% that runs on cloud. So we are at the beginning of the cloud journey. It's not like year 17 and it's completely done. There's a long, long, long journey for many industries to do that. I think that's trend number 1. So we are at the very beginning. Then if I look at cloud, I think the journey works in a way where, first of all, the question is, cloud is good, I want to do it, how can I do it? So you need to find the talent, the technology, the people. Working in an agile mindset is, of course, key. So that's step number 1. Then execution becomes key. So you do this transformation. And then comes a new phase that maybe you are not thinking of, and that is, once you have migrated a significant workload to the cloud and the people know how to use it, you have the developers who use all of the CI/CD stuff and so on, then you will find quite tricky technical challenges that you need to master in order to increase your cloud footprint or maintain it like that. So there will be difficult problems to solve with technology. And that sounds maybe strange for some of you, but I truly believe in this kind of journey. At the beginning, it's people and skills. And then at the end, technology again kicks in. And we are currently at the phase where we do that. For example, we don't run our core insurance system on the mainframe anymore. So since April this year, our core insurance system runs on x86 infrastructure. And that was a huge project, took a long time to get there. Lots of history, lots of records. It's a 9 petabyte big database that runs on non-mainframe now, and was not clear if technology can do that. And those challenges come as a next stage. So I see that this is one of the future trends. Also make sure that you have set up your environment in a resilient way. I think there will be lots of new regulations coming when it comes to resiliency. And that is a big challenge to find on cloud the right building blocks. I mean, theoretically, all of the services are very resilient. But as I said, it's like this game where you put pieces together and you still have to make sure that end-to-end your resilience is there. And from my point of view, it's not that easy. Maybe it will be in the future, but currently it's not that easy, and there will be lots of pressure on this special component. And so better to think of this already now.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing your insights with us. We'll be around also in the networking session, which is going to start in a couple of seconds. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you, Axel.